But I want to leave you today with one more thing that I don't think has been rumored about. Ladies and gentlemen, two-time Academy Award winner, Mahershala Ali.
It's crazy to think it's been 6 years since this announcement. I wonder how that new Blade movie is coming along. Oh, I've got to shout out the YouTube channel The Blues House for this video idea. I was introduced to them through TTFT's March Movie Madness trivia show, but for those unaware, they're a YouTube channel that do live discussions of everything in the realm of current events and entertainment, particularly in the world of comic books. In one of their recent streams, they talk about the upcoming Punisher special on Disney Plus and how priorities at Marvel Studios have shifted as they try to course correct and win back fans after several of their projects have failed. And one of the biggest frustrations throughout all of this has been the absolute piss-poor management of the Blade movie with Mahershala Ali. They've released 21 projects across film and TV since this panel in 2019, and yet we've seen no development on this movie outside of a disembodied voice at the end of Eternals. We've seen a few MCU projects recently facing production issues and heavy alterations, and at the moment, they're all still on track to release as normal. But for whatever reason, this Blade movie just will not budge. They've had arguments over the story, they've shifted the director like 20 times. They are just dragging their feet with this movie. Poor Mahershala Ali has only now just been released from Disney's clutches so that he can go make Jurassic Park 7 with Black Widow. Now, Kevin Feige's excuse for this is that they want to make sure they get it right and do justice to the character, but they also released Secret Invasion and Quantumanium without a second thought. And look, it's not like I'm a Blade expert or anything, but I feel like this guy is the easiest character to make cool and interesting. There really isn't any reason this movie has taken as long as it has to come out. It's even gotten to the point where Marvel themselves have acknowledged that this movie isn't happening.
There's only been one Blade. There's only ever gonna be one Blade.
Like, that's funny, but also, come on, guys. So considering that everyone has pretty much accepted that the MCU Blade movie is just not gonna happen, how are we meant to get our fix of this badass vampire hunter? I mean, we could always watch the original Blade movies because they're classics, and also Blade Trinity, but those movies have been talked about to death, and there's not much more that can be added to them. There's also the Blade TV series from 2006 with rapper Sticky Fingers. I haven't seen it, but you guys can let me know if it's worth watching. Now, today, I wanted to cover something that's a little bit more out of the box and not nearly as talked about. Today, I will be talking about the Blade anime. This was one of 4 Marvel anime series to be produced by Madhouse, the guys behind Perfect Blue, Paprika, Death Note, and more, that was released between 2010 and 2012. Each series consisted of 12 episodes and were all in the same universe as each other. There was a series for Iron Man, Wolverine, the X-Men, and of course, Blade. I genuinely had no clue these series existed, but when I was watching and chatting along in the aforementioned Blue House stream, people were throwing out ideas of things they could do with Blade since the MCU movie is most likely not going to happen. When someone brought up the idea of a Blade anime, Blue was quick to point out that they already did one. After looking into it, I was like, this sounds interesting. I kind of want to give this a watch. And after searching the 4 corners of the fucking globe, I finally found not just the Blade series, but all of the series in this collection. We'll talk about that in just a little bit, but for right now, let's talk about Blade. The setup is pretty straightforward, as it follows Eric Brooks, aka Blade, who travels to Japan to get revenge on the man who killed his mother, Deacon Frost, and has several run-ins with a group of vampires called the Existence. Now, like I said, I know virtually nothing about Blade outside of the bare basics, so I can't exactly speak to how comic accurate this is, but in terms of an introduction to this character and just a show in general, I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was well paced out. I thought having the story be a very simple revenge mission allows you to not just easily sympathize with Blade's situation, but it also leaves enough room to explore the world and the characters. I think out of all the Marvel characters, I feel like Blade lends himself the best to anime. Not just for the animation style, but also tonally. It allows the show to skew a bit older, go a bit darker, and be a bit more violent. It doesn't go as dark as something like Cyberpunk Edge Runner. Many of the kills happen either off-screen or result in the monster just bursting into flames and exploding. But it is a bit more intense and a bit bloodier than what you'd expect out of a Marvel animated project. It was also interesting seeing how they tackled the world of vampires in this show. In one of the behind-the-scenes featurettes on the DVD, they actually talk about how European and Asian vampire legends are different from Western vampire legends. The mechanics and designs are a lot different than ours. They tend to be a lot more monstrous and animalistic. So it was cool to see how they tackled that. I thought the monster designs were very cool and creative and varied from each other. The animation in general was a bit of a mixed bag. I like the look of the show. I like sort of the gothic edge with the harsher shadows and how they mix in intense colors with reds and blues. And I like the stark contrast between the brightness and the flashbacks and the darkness of the present. But in terms of the actual animation, you can tell that it doesn't have the biggest budget. It's not bad by any means, but you can just see where corners had to be cut, particularly in the action. Half of the action is really cool and really slick. The rest is usually done either using still images or very quick flashes, or like I said, just having it off screen. The characters for the most part are really compelling and well written. Blade is of course the smooth badass we know him to be, but they also do a good job showing the tragedy of his character too. Like most angsty superheroes, he didn't ask to be made into what he is. He never got to know his mom, the maternal figure he had was killed, and with the help and guidance of several mentors, he has to fight the urges he has to not devolve into being the monster he's trying to fight against. I like the dynamic between Blade and Makoto. It starts off pretty rocky as he has to kill her dad after he gets bitten, but as time goes on, they grow to understand each other and make for a really cool duo. There's a running gag where people confuse them for a couple, and that stuff was funny, but I'm glad they didn't forcefully rush them into a relationship. They work well together, they care about each other, and when something bad happens, you genuinely feel sad for them by the end. The villains are kind of mid though. Like I said, the random monsters are cool and creepy, and there's this Swedish vampire that's pretty fun and scenery chewing, but the main villain, Deacon Frost, is pretty bland. He's definitely a bastard and makes for a powerful foe for Blade, but his motivation seems really confused and doesn't make much sense. Like, he starts off trying to get revenge for his dead son, but then he just wants to steal Blade's powers so he can kill this vague high council of vampires that we don't see much of. It just didn't seem like they knew what to do with him. The voice acting for the most part was pretty solid. I watched the English dub because I'm an uncultured swine, and while not all the performances were amazing, no one was outright bad. Harold Perrineau from the Matrix sequels and Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet voices Blade, and while he's no Wesley Snipes, I thought he did perfectly fine. J.B. Blanc, who's had roles in Breaking Bad, Apex Legends, and Arcane, plays Deacon Frost, and even though his character might not be the most interesting, he still plays him pretty well. The soundtrack is pretty awesome, balancing heavy rock with more mysterious and atmospheric tones as well. And overall, while the show isn't anything outstanding, it's still pretty good. It's honestly something that I wouldn't mind them taking another crack at now. Considering how far technology has come, how the standard for animation has changed, and how well regarded anime is for its art and storytelling, I'd honestly love to see a studio like Trigger take on a grittier, more adult anime of Blade. Even more so considering, once again, we probably won't be getting that MCU movie for a while. In terms of the Blade anime we got, I'd recommend it. I just wish it were easier to watch. It's nowhere to be found on streaming, at least in the US. The episodes aren't uploaded online. The DVDs are out of print with very little chance of being re-released on Blu-ray, and buying secondhand is like Russian roulette. I tried buying this off of Amazon, but I guess the seller was trying to scam the postal service or something because they hadn't paid the correct postage or something like that, so they just flat out would not send it to me. Luckily, I was able to get this refunded, and I was able to find it at a place called The Exchange, which was really cool, but still, it was just really frustrating and way more difficult to get my hands on this than it should have been. Right now, the only channel you can watch it on is Throwback Tunes, but only in clips and compilations. And I don't think it can be put on Disney Plus because it's partially owned by Sony Pictures, and I don't think Disney cares enough to buy back the distribution rights to a 13-year-old anime. But hopefully somewhere down the line, the show will be made more accessible, and you guys can check it out for yourselves. Anyway, before I keep rambling, I'd say check out the Blade anime if you're able to. It's not perfect, but it's a solid time. I'd give it a 3.5 out of 5. And that does it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know in the comments, did you watch the Blade anime when it originally came out? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Have you rewatched it since? What do you think of it now? Would you like to see them take another crack at a Blade anime? And do you think we will ever get that Mahershala Ali Blade movie in the MCU? Let me know all that stuff down below. Also, considering the effort I had to go through to get this box set, I feel like I'm financially obligated to cover the rest of these series, so let me know if that's something you'd be interested in seeing. I've got more videos coming soon, but until then, be sure to like, subscribe, ring the notification bell so you can stay up to date when I'm posting. Follow me on all my social media, subscribe to my main channel. Everything you need to know will be in the description. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you later.